This is why Chrollo will lose everything. And this devastating loss is brought to you by Squarespace, but more about them later. And also why it will be entirely his fault when he does. Because here's a fun thing about Hunter x Hunter. Only 3 people have ever killed Phantom Troop members. Those 3 people being Kurapika, Hisoka, and Silver Zoldyck. The last remaining member of the Kurta clan, the head of a house of assassins, and a horny battle clown. And the encounters with each of these factions have all been through direct fault of the troop itself. The Phantom Troop have essentially created these 3 demons who have been progressively dismantling the spider structure and are now threatening to destroy it entirely. So the first reason why Chrollo is doomed is due to an idea that I refer to as parallel punishment. Let me explain. Chrollo's journey began as retribution for the death of his friend Sarasa, who was murdered purely for the sake of entertainment. However, in the quest to find Sarasa's killers, Chrollo arguably came just as bad, if not worse than they were. He turned Meteor City into a safe haven for criminals to screen their various movie films, in the hopes that Sarasa's killers would use this as a platform to showcase her murder tape. But it really just provided a much bigger platform for these crimes and gave a big boost to the profile of the underworld film industry in general. And after sinking deeper and deeper, Chrollo's quest was corrupted to the point where the Phantom Troop tortured and massacred the Kurta clan. They did this in order to claim their scarlet eyes to sell to body part collectors for lots and lots of cash money. The torture part was very important because not every member of the Kurta clan had scarlet eyes. For those who did, watching everyone they knew and loved suffer an unimaginably painful death was the secret ingredient for having those eyes turn an even more vibrant shade of scarlet, and thus greatly enhancing the price. And we still don't know what the exact turning point was that got the Phantom Troop to this stage, but it likely wasn't a single event. It was more of a slow decline as they spent more and more time viewing torture films and getting more involved with and desensitized from the underworld. So by the time the Kurta job came around, no one questioned it. The idea of killing innocent children for the sake of business was just natural, in the same way that it was probably very natural for Sarasa's killers. The real tragedy here being that Chrollo did not break the cycle. He may have successfully taken revenge for Sarasa or not. We don't actually know if they ever found her killers. But even if they did, Chrollo went on to create at least one other Chrollo with Kurapika, who then vowed to take revenge on the troop and has since lost himself in the underworld with increasingly violent actions that are becoming more and more mundane to him. Sounds very familiar. But in Hunter x Hunter, Kurapika is not lost yet. He is the one who has the chance to break this cycle, because he still has yet to completely resign himself to the dark depths like Chrollo did. However, it is definitely much too late for Chrollo. And not only that, but he's likely to suffer an incredibly ironic fate of watching his friends and comrades die one by one around him, as he is powerless to do nothing, just like how Kurapika was powerless to save his clan. And when faced with this, I wonder just how scarlet Chrollo's eyes are going to change. Probably not much, but he's still going to feel everything that the Kurta clan felt. So if Chrollo had never vowed revenge for Sarasa and started down this path, then the troop as a whole likely would have lived much longer lives. And ultimately, Kurapika, the demon that the Phantom Troop themselves created, is responsible for the deaths of Uvagin and Pakunoda. However, he was perplexed by the fellowship and, dare I say, even humanity of the troop. The end of York New City indicates to us that Kurapika has put killing them to the side and has focused purely on recovering the Scarlet Eyes. So Kurapika probably won't be the one to punish the remaining troop members, probably, but that doesn't mean they've gotten away with it, because the Phantom Troop have well and truly made their bed and now they need to sleep in it. Their deaths are unavoidable, and they're likely going to come courtesy of Hisoka, whose very existence is an insult to everything Chrollo and the troop work to build, because Hisoka is the exact kind of person that led to Sarasa's death in the first place. Someone who stalks the world in order to fulfill their dark pleasures, and whilst he might not be in the film industry, Hisoka lives to be sexually satisfied by the thrill of fighting and killing, and particularly for the thrill of fighting and killing powerful opponents. Hisoka is like a specter that looms over the troop, a demon that was assigned to doom them all after they crossed a certain line. Like a slasher in a horror film that they can't get rid of. It really is just like your classic horror trope. They've even successfully killed Hisoka once, but he came back even more powerful to stalk them. Hisoka is the ultimate curse for the troop. He represents everything they vowed to eliminate, and he only gets more powerful the more powerful each of them gets. And not only that, the more powerful they get, the more excited he gets, and the more determined he is to fight and kill them. It's like quicksand. The more you struggle, the harder he takes hold. But something I don't struggle with is the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. Through Squarespace, you can sell anything through an exceptionally easy to set up online store, be it physical, digital, or service products. In my case, I sell physical shirts, and mate, you would be surprised just how much of a pain doing something as simple as that can be. Which is why I genuinely use and love Squarespace, because they make it mercifully simple yet somehow still really good. Squarespace offers an incredible amount of ready-to-go website templates that are customizable to your heart's content through the Fluid Engine, a next-generation website design system to further unlock and cultivate your creativity. So you can and should check out Squarespace through my link in the description, which will save you 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And thank you so much again to Squarespace, because it's sponsors like this that make producing our fictional hunter content possible on a regular basis, so please do check them out. But for now, it's back to you, me. The best thing the Phantom Troop could have done to stop Hisoka's fixation is to be boring, very boring, to never develop these world-class nen abilities, to never push the mental boundaries, and to never have garnered the global attention that brought them to his attention. Hisoka is everything the Phantom Troop deserves. A demon accidentally summoned by a spell cast by Chrollo. And even then, it still gets worse. Hisoka isn't the only curse to plague the troop, as we also need to consider the Zoldyck infestation. The Phantom Troop are, I think, the only group in this world to have ever had the fortune and or misfortune of dealing with 5 Zoldyck family assassins and living to tell the tale. Chrollo has fought Silver Zoldyck on 2 occasions, once after Silver killed the original number 8 troop member, and the other was during York New City, when he also had to take on Xeno Zoldyck. And then Killer Zoldyck was helping Kurapika take revenge on them during York New City, which led to more troop death. Carlito Zoldyck later asked to join the troop, which hasn't turned out too terribly yet, emphasis on the word yet. And most recently, Illumi Zoldyck has also become a troop member bearing the number 11. And I'll say the same thing for him that I did for Carlito. That hasn't turned out too badly yet. Because while the Zoldicks aren't the single-minded killing machines that Hisoka is, they are still a plague on the troop. Their entire business model is death, and Chrollo has been continuously surrounded by death, be it choice or not. He cannot escape the ever-present Zoldyck plague, and they're attracted to the troop because of Chrollo's actions. In the case of the member that Silver Zoldyck killed, they were likely hired in retribution by a client that the troop had wronged, much like how the 10 Dons did during York New City. With Carlito, we don't know what his exact motivation is, but something about being with the troop is key to helping one of his brothers, and with Illumi, well, he was placed there by Hisoka. And the Zoldicks cannot be trusted on the same level as any other troop member. The Phantom Troop work well together because they have nothing else. Most of them are from Meteor City and they have no family. However, the Zoldicks are from an existing family with an extreme loyalty to one another. And at the first sign of something going wrong, Illumi and Carlito are not going to prioritize the spider above the Zoldyck family needs. And in regards to that, something I should mention is that Carlito inherited the number 4 designation. And a lot of people probably know that in Japanese, 4 can be said as she, meaning death, which is nice and symbolically appropriate, because every known Phantom Troop member who has held the number 4 position has had treacherous intent. Hisoka being the obvious one, but also the non-canon Omokage from the Phantom Rouge film. And I usually try not to take non-canon stuff into consideration, but we're very unlikely to ever know for sure who the original number 4 was, be it Omokage or someone else. But within the Hunter x Hunter franchise, there's this trend of the number 4 being exceptionally untrustworthy. And I don't think that Carlito Zoldyck is any exception, given that he was spying on the troop with his surveillance paper dolls Hatsu during the Chimera Ant arc. And also given that we know that Carlito is here for his own specific purpose. The moment that Carlito achieves or figures out what he needs to help his brother, then the troop loyalty is gone in favor of Zoldyck loyalty. In fact, he's only with the troop as a result of Zoldyck loyalty, which completely breaks down the structure of the spider. Chrollo designed the Phantom Troop to be able to operate without him. His sudden demise at any given time is factored and planned for with the spider model, which he describes as follows. I'm the head and you're the legs. The legs do what the head says. There will be times when the legs are more important than the head. If I die, someone else will take over. My orders are of the utmost priority. My life is not. So make sure to make the right decision. I'm only part of the spider. What's important is the survival of the whole, not the individual. And the Zoldicks, they just don't fit very well within that framework. But also, we're now at the point where almost half of the original founding troop members are dead. Half the legs of the original spider have already been replaced. The makeup of the current Phantom Troop aboard the Black Whale 1 consists of 10 members, with only 6 of them being from the original group. And I'm sure that Chrollo's thought about this inevitability, but the structure of the spider reminds me a lot of the Ship of Theseus, a thought experiment that asks the question of whether an object that has had all of its parts replaced is still the same object. In that case being a wooden ship, but the same thing applies to the spider. There could come a point where by the end of Hunter x Hunter, all of the original troop members are dead, but are gradually replaced by a new leader with new legs, just as Chrollo planned. He has created a spider that will survive, and we may still get that, just without any of its original parts. There's plenty of people that would jump at the chance to become a troop member. We even have literal Phantom Phantom Troop fanboys aboard the Black Whale 1 at the moment, the most blatant of which is Sudonka, who even wanted to get their autographs. There's a potential scenario where even Hisoka could end up becoming the troop leader, because with a new set of legs, there's no real grudges to hold against him, and honestly, the newer members like Shizuku and Benolanov don't seem to have any strong negative emotions toward Hisoka like the original members do, and the Zoldyck certainly hold no grudge against him whatsoever. So if Hisoka manages to kill Chrollo, then by troop rules that qualifies him to rejoin, and then all that needs to happen is he needs to be elected as the new head, and bam, new spider. But something else I do need to point out is that the Phantom Troop are a tale of notes, specifically 3 notes throughout history. The first is Sarasa's note. In chapter number 397, we learn that Sarasa's killers left a note with her dismembered body, which clever Chrollo was able to read, but he refused to tell anyone else what it said. Even if they tried to kill him, we will never learn the contents of this note. However, this did start a trend, with the second note being the Kurta note. In Volume 0, Chapter 2, after the Kurta genocide, the Phantom Troop left a note saying, "We'll accept anything you leave, but don't ever take anything away from us," which is the Meteor City motto. But having continued the cycle, a third note would then be created by Kurapika when he abducted Chrollo and leaves a note in chapter 114, a note threatening Pakunoda not to reveal any of the memories that she saw or else Chrollo will die, which I really like because just as with Chrollo and Sarasa, Pakunoda cannot speak the desired information. And whilst this third note might sound a bit mundane, it did go on to result in Pakunoda's death. So the notes come back around full circle. The first one wasn't the troop's fault, but the second one certainly was, and the third one was the result of their second note, which killed another friend and led us back around to the first note. But back to the modern day, Chrollo is now trapped aboard a ship with all 3 specters of death looming around him. He and the troop boarded the ship to chase Hisoka, but he's also ended up with 2 Zoldicks who both have ulterior motives, and to top everything off, Kurapika is also on board. Every demon that the troop either created or attracted is now circling them aboard the Black Whale 1. Everything the Phantom Troop have sowed, they are now reaping in the worst possible location, because there is no escape for any of them. They're in an enclosed space in the most dangerous part of the world. And I do think that it's probably Chrollo's fate to watch his comrades die around him and to be the last one standing. Or since he's ahead and they were the legs, the last one awkwardly rolling about, until he's also claimed by one of the 3 demons that Chrollo himself created. And in an effort to seek revenge for one friend, Chrollo is going to end up losing all of his friends.